The story begins with a young woman, a shelter resident, nervously making her way to a remote ranch. Her past life had been confined to the sterile walls of the shelter, a place where she had learned to hide her insecurities and protect herself from judgment. She had always believed that her plain looks would prevent anyone from truly valuing her, that the world measured a woman's worth by her beauty. When the opportunity to become a mail-order bride arose, she felt a mixture of hope and terror. Hope, because perhaps this was a chance at a life she had never imagined. Terror, because she feared rejection the moment the cowboy laid eyes on her. The journey to the ranch is filled with tension. Every mile of the dusty road seems to echo her self-doubt. She rehearses what she will say, how she should smile, how she might explain her lack of physical attractiveness. The internal monologue is rich with anxiety, her thoughts repeatedly circling back to her appearance. What if he doesn't want me? What if he expected someone else? She wonders, clutching her small bag of belongings, feeling that her plainness sets her apart in a world that values beauty above all. Yet beneath her fear, there is a quiet courage, a determination to try to take this leap into the unknown. Upon arrival, the ranch unfolds before her like a world she has only imagined. Rolling fields, sturdy wooden fences, and the rhythmic sound of horses' hooves create a sense of life and vitality. The sight both awes and intimidates her. She steps out of the wagon hesitantly, her eyes scanning the ranch, imagining the life that could be hers if only she is accepted. The air smells of hay, leather, and earth, a stark contrast to the sanitized, confined atmosphere of the shelter. For the first time, she feels a fragile excitement that perhaps this place could become a home. The cowboy appears, a figure carved by years of hard work and the open plains. Tall, broad-shouldered, and calm, he approaches with an expression of quiet curiosity rather than judgment. His demeanor immediately contrasts with the fears she has carried. He does not scan her with critical eyes, does not measure her worth by superficial standards. Instead, there is a warmth, a patient kindness that surprises her. The first words exchanged are simple yet revealing. She blurts out an apology, expecting to be dismissed or ridiculed. I'm not the pretty one you ordered." The cowboy's response is understated but powerful. He smiles, a genuine expression that reaches his eyes, and replies that appearances are irrelevant to him. He is not looking for someone to impress the town or adhere to conventional standards of beauty. He seeks companionship, trust, and someone whose heart and character resonate with his own. In that moment, the young woman feels a flicker of relief, though doubt still lingers. She has never encountered someone who valued her inner qualities over her outward appearance, and the novelty of this perception both reassures and unsettles her. As they begin to walk through the ranch together, she observes the surroundings with cautious curiosity. She notices the meticulous care in the way the ranch is maintained, the horses' glossy coats, and the careful attention to every detail. The cowboy explains routines and chores with a quiet confidence, inviting her to be part of the daily life rather than overwhelming her with expectations. This gesture, small but significant, helps her see that she is not merely an accessory in someone else's life, but a participant with value and purpose. By the end of the first day, the young woman's nervousness begins to give way to tentative hope. She realizes that the ranch, with its vast landscapes and honest work, mirrors the honest, unpretentious man who owns it. Though insecurity still shadows her thoughts, there is a budding sense that perhaps she has arrived at a place where she can belong, where she may be loved for who she truly is, not what she looks like. The stage is set for the slow, unfolding journey of trust, connection, and self-discovery that lies ahead. The morning after her arrival at the ranch, the young woman wakes early, still feeling the remnants of anxiety from the previous day. She watches the sun rise over the fields, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, and wonders if this life could truly be hers. Every sound, the lowing of cattle, the rustle of the wind through the grass, The distant neigh of horses feels magnified in the quiet, open landscape. It is both beautiful and intimidating. She feels small in comparison to the vastness of the ranch, but there is also a sense of possibility, of a new beginning waiting to unfold. As she prepares for the day, she is acutely aware of the cowboy's presence. She remembers his gentle smile, the way he had looked at her without judgment. Yet, fear still gnaws at her confidence. She worries about her manners, her ability to perform the chores, and above all, her appearance. Her mind is a swirl of insecurities. He expected someone prettier, someone more elegant. Someone like the women in the town, not me. Every movement feels measured, every glance calculated, as though she is trying to prove that she deserves to be there. When the cowboy enters the main barn, his casual presence contrasts sharply with her nervousness. He does not rush or pressure her. He simply greets her with a calm, easy voice. He asks about her journey, and she finds herself stumbling over words, revealing her nervousness in a way that surprises even her. She apologizes again for not being the pretty one he might have hoped for, expecting him to be disappointed. His reaction, however, is entirely unexpected. He chuckles softly, not mockingly but warmly, and reassures her that beauty is not what he values most. What matters to him is honesty, kindness, and a willingness to embrace life with heart and integrity. This first exchange sets the tone for their relationship. The young woman is taken aback by his sincerity. She has never experienced such acceptance, and it stirs a mixture of relief and caution. While part of her wants to trust him completely, another part hesitates, conditioned by years of judgment and neglect. The cowboy's ease and patience begin to chip away at her defenses. She notices the way he interacts with the ranch hands and animals, with respect, quiet humor, and attention to detail. It is clear that he treats everything and everyone with care, and this realization strengthens the tentative bond forming between them. As they move through the ranch together, he shows her the daily routines: feeding the animals, tending to the stables, and checking the fences. His teaching is gentle, not condescending, allowing her to learn at her own pace. She notices that he does not comment on her mistakes, instead encouraging her with words of reassurance. Each small gesture offering guidance without judgment, praising effort over perfection builds her confidence slowly. She begins to understand that the ranch is a place where she might not only survive, but thrive, where her value is measured by her heart and character rather than her appearance. By the end of their first day together, the young woman feels a flicker of hope she has rarely known. The cowboy's kindness and patience give her a sense of safety, a feeling that perhaps she can belong in this world of open skies and honest work. She realizes that while she feared rejection because of her looks, what she truly needed was acceptance, and the cowboy has offered it freely. This moment, simple, quiet, and unassuming, marks the beginning of a connection built on trust, understanding, and genuine affection, laying the emotional foundation for the deeper relationship that will develop in the days to come. After the first day's cautious interactions, the young woman begins to settle into life on the ranch. The initial nerves and anxiety still linger, but they are now accompanied by a fragile sense of curiosity and belonging. She wakes early, the crisp morning air filling her lungs, and observes the rhythmic routines of ranch life. Horses are being fed, fences checked, and the scent of hay and earth permeates the air. The world is unfamiliar, yet there is a kind of honest simplicity in its demands that feels strangely comforting. Her first tasks are modest helping with chores like gathering eggs, brushing the horses, and organizing supplies in the barn. At first, her movements are hesitant, cautious, as though she fears breaking something or failing. She worries that her inexperience will reveal her inadequacy and that the cowboy will see her as unfit for ranch life. But he approaches her with patience, guiding her with calm instructions rather than criticism. "Just take your time," he says. "We all start somewhere." His voice, steady and kind, reassures her in a way she has rarely experienced, allowing her to relax into the work rather than freeze under pressure. As she works, she begins to notice the rhythm and satisfaction of physical labor. There is a strange joy in seeing a task completed, a fence repaired, or a horse well fed. These small accomplishments start to build her confidence. She realizes that the value of her contributions is not in perfection, but in effort and dedication. Each day brings new chores, some challenging, others mundane, and gradually she begins to understand the routines and expectations. Even minor successes, a well-stacked pile of hay, a horse that trusts her touch, feel significant. For the first time, she experiences a sense of agency and purpose, a stark contrast to the helplessness she had felt in the shelter. The cowboy watches her progress quietly, occasionally offering encouragement or correcting her technique with gentle guidance. He does not hover or judge. Instead, he allows her space to learn and grow. This approach begins to create a subtle shift in her perception of him. He is no longer just a figure of authority or someone she must impress. He is a partner in this new life, someone who respects her efforts and sees her value beyond appearances. In his steady presence, she starts to feel a sense of safety and belonging, a feeling that she is not merely tolerated but genuinely welcomed. Beyond the work, there are moments of quiet observation that deepen their connection. During breaks, she watches him handle the animals, noticing the ease and respect with which he interacts with them. She sees his gentle humor when a horse acts stubborn or when a chicken escapes its coop, and these glimpses of personality make him more approachable, more human, in her eyes. Slowly, she begins to understand that he is not judging her for being plain or inexperienced. Instead, he values her kindness, her willingness to try, and her quiet determination, qualities that she had long overlooked in herself. By the end of the first week, a subtle transformation has begun. The young woman is still shy, still self-conscious, but she moves with a growing confidence. Her hands are steadier, her posture more assured, and she begins to smile more freely. The ranch, once intimidating and alien, starts to feel like a place where she could belong. The cowboy's patience, respect, and quiet admiration have helped her see that her worth is not defined by her appearance, but by her heart and her actions. This stage of settling in lays the groundwork for the emotional and relational growth to follow. The young woman is learning not only the practical skills required to navigate ranch life, but also the emotional lessons of trust, acceptance, and self-worth. Each chore, each interaction, is a brick in the foundation of her new life, and her evolving relationship with the cowboy, setting the stage for the deeper bonds and challenges that lie ahead. As the young woman begins to feel more comfortable on the ranch, her insecurities quietly simmer beneath the surface. Though she has started to adapt to the routines and even enjoys small victories like successfully grooming a horse or organizing supplies, her mind often drifts back to her own perceived shortcomings. The self-doubt she has carried from her years in the shelter remains a constant shadow. She worries that no matter how competent she becomes, the cowboy may secretly wish for someone more beautiful, more confident, more worthy in the conventional sense. The turning point comes unexpectedly. While performing chores near the main house, she overhears a conversation between two ranch hands. Their words are casual but sharp, a passing comment about her plain appearance, the kind of offhand remark that cuts deeper than intended. Her heart tightens, and the hours of progress she has made suddenly feel meaningless. In an instant, her self-consciousness surges back to the forefront, overshadowing the small sense of accomplishment she had built. She begins to question everything, her presence on the ranch, her ability to contribute, even her worthiness of love. The young woman retreats inward, spending more time alone. She avoids eye contact, hesitates to participate in chores, and moves through the routines with a heavy, distracted heart. Even simple interactions with the cowboy are tinged with anxiety. She imagines criticism behind every word and judgment behind every glance. Her mind plays cruel scenarios. What if he regrets accepting her? What if he was only being polite? What if she doesn't belong here at all? These questions loop endlessly, eroding her confidence and leaving her feeling isolated, even in the presence of people who genuinely care. During this period, the ranch itself begins to reflect her internal struggle. Tasks that once felt manageable now seem daunting. A stubborn horse refuses to cooperate, a fence needs mending, and she feels inept at even the simplest chores. Each small failure reinforces her negative self-image. The young woman starts to consider leaving the ranch, imagining that perhaps she would never fit into this world that seems so full of competence, strength, and beauty qualities she believes she lacks. The thought of going back to the shelter, while uncomfortable, begins to feel safer than confronting the possibility of rejection and continued failure. Meanwhile, the cowboy begins to notice her withdrawal. He observes the way she flinches at comments, the quiet hesitation in her movements, and the sadness behind her eyes. He senses that her struggle is internal, that her self-doubt is the real obstacle rather than any external challenge. Instead of pressuring her to explain, he respects her space while preparing to intervene gently. He understands that trust and reassurance cannot be rushed. They must be offered steadily, with patience and understanding. In a quiet moment, he approaches her while she tends to the stables, speaking softly and deliberately. Without confrontation or judgment, he begins to share glimpses of his own struggles, the challenges he has faced in life, and the times he has doubted himself. His honesty creates a bridge, showing her that vulnerability is not weakness and that everyone has fears and insecurities. This act of subtle empathy plants a seed of hope, though it does not instantly erase her doubt. The young woman begins to see, faintly, that she is not alone in her feelings, that the cowboy values her for more than her appearance, and that her fears, while real, may not define her destiny on the ranch. Part 4 is crucial because it deepens the emotional tension in the story. It highlights the internal battle between self-doubt and the desire to belong, illustrating that real growth requires confronting one's insecurities. The stage is set for the next phase, where the cowboy's understanding and patience will begin to help her reclaim confidence and slowly realize her worth, not as the pretty one, but as herself, fully capable of love and belonging. After several days of settling into ranch life, the young woman's withdrawal becomes increasingly noticeable. She still performs her chores, but her movements are tentative, her smiles infrequent, and a subtle sadness shadows her gaze. The once bright curiosity she had felt upon arriving is now dulled by self-doubt. Though she hides it as best she can, the cowboy, a man who has spent years reading the land, animals, and people, recognizes the shift immediately. He notices the way she flinches at casual comments, how she lingers at the edge of tasks rather than diving in with confidence, and the quiet sighs that escape when she thinks no one is watching. Rather than confronting her abruptly, he observes quietly at first, paying attention to the small clues of her emotional state. He recalls the comments she overheard, the self-critical thoughts she likely wrestles with, and the way her insecurities have always been a part of her. He senses that this is not laziness or disinterest, but a deep fear that she might never be enough, not for the ranch, not for anyone. Understanding this, he knows that any attempt to correct or scold her would only worsen her anxiety. Instead, he resolves to approach her with patience, empathy, and reassurance, using his quiet strength to offer the support she needs. One morning, he finds her in the barn, struggling to lift a bale of hay. Her movements are stiff, careful, almost as if she is testing herself against an invisible standard she cannot meet. He steps beside her, his presence steady but unintrusive. Without commenting on her apparent struggle, he begins to speak of his own experiences. He tells her about the early years on the ranch when he had doubts about his own abilities. the mistakes he had made, and the people who had encouraged him to keep going despite setbacks. His tone is gentle, matter-of-fact, yet filled with warmth, conveying the message that struggle and imperfection are not failures, they are part of growth. As he speaks, he emphasizes a principle that he has lived by. Appearances and first impressions mean little in the face of perseverance, kindness, and heart. He tells her that he admires those who are willing to try, even when they fear failure, and that courage is measured not by flawless execution, but by the willingness to keep going. He reminds her subtly, through stories and analogies, that everyone has moments of self-doubt, but those doubts do not define one's value. The words resonate with her, though she is hesitant to fully believe them. Slowly, the walls she has built around her insecurities begin to crack, allowing a small, tentative hope to enter. The cowboy's approach is both strategic and compassionate. He does not pressure her into verbalizing her fears. Instead, he models acceptance and resilience. He shows, through his calm demeanor and consistent encouragement, that she can trust him and that her presence is valued. He allows her to perform tasks at her own pace, praising effort over perfection, and gradually she begins to participate more fully in the daily routines. Each success, no matter how small, is met with acknowledgement, reinforcing the idea that her worth is not tied to her appearance, but to her courage, dedication, and character. By the end of this period, a subtle transformation has begun. The young woman feels the first glimmer of relief from the crushing weight of self-doubt. She realizes that the cowboy truly sees her, not as a plain or inadequate figure, but as a person capable of love, work, and connection. His patience and understanding plant a seed of self-acceptance that will continue to grow, setting the stage for the shared vulnerabilities and emotional intimacy that will deepen their bond in the coming chapters. Part 5 is pivotal because it marks the first time the young woman feels genuinely noticed and understood on an emotional level. It establishes the cowboy not just as a guide for ranch life, but as a safe presence who can help her navigate her fears and insecurities, reinforcing the theme that true connection transcends appearances. After the cowboy gently addresses her withdrawal, a subtle shift begins to take place in the young woman. She is still cautious, still holding on to her insecurities, but the tension between them eases enough to allow moments of real connection. One evening, as the sun dips below the horizon and the sky turns shades of amber and violet, they find themselves sitting by a small campfire near the barn. The crackling flames and quiet rustle of the surrounding fields create a sense of intimacy, a space removed from chores, expectations, and the world beyond the ranch. At first, their conversation is simple small talk about the day's work, the animals, and the routines of the ranch. Yet, gradually, the young woman senses a genuine curiosity in the cowboy's voice, a patience that invites honesty rather than judgment. Encouraged by his calm presence, she begins to share fragments of her past, the years spent in the shelter, the constant feeling of being overlooked, and the ways she had learned to hide her emotions to avoid disappointment. Her words are halting, tinged with vulnerability, but the act of speaking them aloud feels like a small liberation. The cowboy listens attentively, without interrupting or offering immediate solutions. There is no condescension in his gaze, no hint of pity, only quiet understanding. After she finishes, he begins to share pieces of his own storytales of loneliness, the burden of running the ranch largely alone, and the losses he has endured over the years. He talks about the emptiness of life when one is surrounded by beauty or wealth, but lacks true companionship, the times when he doubted himself and wondered if anyone would ever truly see him. By opening up, he demonstrates that vulnerability is not weakness but a bridge to connection. As the fire crackles between them, a delicate thread of trust begins to form. The young woman realizes that she is not alone in her fears and insecurities. Even someone as strong and capable as the cowboy has wrestled with self-doubt. She begins to understand that emotional honesty is not something to fear, but something that allows people to truly know and support one another. Her walls, built over years of rejection and neglect, start to soften, making space for empathy, connection, and eventually, affection. The conversation shifts naturally from past hardships to present feelings. She admits her worries about being the plain one, about not meeting expectations, and about whether she belongs on the ranch. The cowboy, in turn, reassures her gently, repeating that beauty is irrelevant and that he values her presence, her heart, and her courage far more than appearances. His words are steady, sincere, and repeated with care, a balm to the insecurities that have long haunted her. The night air carries a sense of peace, a rare moment where she can simply be herself without pretense. During this intimate exchange, they begin to discover shared values and emotional resonance. Both have experienced loss, fear, and loneliness, yet both possess resilience and a desire for trust and companionship. These shared vulnerabilities create a deeper emotional bond, one that transcends superficial attraction and touches the core of human connection. The young woman senses that she is being valued for who she truly is, not for what she looks like or what she can do, and this realization is both humbling and empowering. By the end of the evening, the stage is set for an evolving relationship built on trust, understanding, and mutual support. The young woman feels a quiet hope taking root, a hope that love and acceptance are possible, even for someone who once believed herself unworthy. The cowboy, in turn, sees not just a shy and insecure bride, but a person of strength, kindness, and resilience, someone whose presence enriches his life. Part 6 is crucial because it transforms their relationship from polite coexistence into emotional intimacy. Through shared vulnerabilities, they begin to recognize and honor the humanity in one another, laying the foundation for love that is rooted in understanding, acceptance, and deep emotional connection rather than superficial ideals. Life on the ranch has started to feel more familiar to the young woman, and her confidence is slowly growing. She still battles inner doubts, but the connection she has begun to build with the cowboy provides a small sense of stability. That fragile balance, however, is tested one fateful afternoon when a sudden crisis shakes the calm of the ranch. It begins with a commotion in the pasture. One of the horses, startled by a loud noise, perhaps a falling branch or a distant gunshot, breaks free from the corral and bolts toward the road. Panic ripples through the animals, and the young woman instinctively rushes toward the barn to alert the cowboy. Her heart pounds, adrenaline surging through her veins. Everything she has learned about ranch life suddenly feels insufficient against the magnitude of the situation. The cowboy is quick to act, but he does not take over entirely. Instead, he guides her, offering instructions with calm authority. Block the path to the road. Get the gate open. I'll help steer the others. His voice is steady and his presence is reassuring, but the responsibility is shared. And the young woman realizes that this is a moment that demands courage, quick thinking, and action. Despite the fear gripping her, she moves with determination, recalling lessons from the past week, how to handle horses, how to anticipate their movements, and how to stay calm under pressure. The situation escalates as the horse nears the fence bordering the road. Traffic could approach at any moment, endangering both the animal and anyone in its path. The young woman's initial panic gives way to focus. She positions herself near the fence, waving her arms and using a combination of voice and gestures to redirect the horse back toward the pasture. For a moment, she feels the old fears of inadequacy creeping in, questioning whether she is truly capable of this task. But the cowboy's calm presence beside her reinforces her resolve. Together, they guide the horse safely back into the corral. When the immediate danger passes, the young woman experiences a mix of relief, exhilaration, and disbelief. She has just faced a situation she once thought would be beyond her abilities, and she has not only survived but succeeded. The adrenaline fades, leaving a profound sense of accomplishment and, for the first time, a tangible recognition of her own strength. Her hands are trembling, her heart still racing, but there is pride in her eyes, a pride born from courage, not appearance. The cowboy watches her quietly, a small, approving smile on his lips. He recognizes her bravery and resilience, seeing qualities in her that go far beyond physical beauty. He doesn't just praise her. He acknowledges her as a true partner in the life of the ranch, someone whose courage and determination matter as much, if not more, than her appearance. In his gaze, she feels seen, valued, and accepted for who she truly is. This crisis becomes a turning point in their relationship. Up until now, much of their connection has been emotional and tentative, focused on trust, empathy, and shared vulnerabilities. The event on the ranch adds a tangible demonstration of her capability, courage, and reliability. It shifts the dynamic from one of cautious observation to one of genuine admiration and respect. The young woman begins to understand that she has a meaningful role in the cowboy's world, that her value is not tied to being pretty enough, but to being brave, resourceful, and willing to act when it matters most. By the evening, as they sit near the barn reflecting on the day, there is a quiet sense of triumph between them. The shared experience has strengthened their bond, bridging the gap between admiration, trust, and the potential for deeper love. The young woman feels her confidence grow, while the cowboy sees not just a shy, plain-faced bride but a partner who can stand beside him in challenges, proving that courage, heart, and resilience are what truly endure. The events of the past days have begun to transform both the young woman and the cowboy. The initial awkwardness and anxiety that defined her first days on the ranch have gradually given way to confidence, competence, and a sense of belonging. The crisis with the horse revealed her courage and resilience, earning the cowboy's admiration, while their late-night conversations around the campfire deepened emotional trust. By now, the subtle threads of respect, admiration, and affection are weaving together, creating a foundation for something more profound, love. One quiet evening, after the sun dips behind the hills and the ranch is bathed in the soft glow of twilight, the cowboy finds the young woman on the porch, gazing out at the fields. Her posture is relaxed but reflective, as if she is lost in thought. He approaches gently, sensing the right moment to express what he has felt for some time. He begins not with grand declarations, but with small observations. How he admires her dedication to learning the chores, how her calm and kind nature has grown on him, and how her courage in the face of the horse crisis revealed a strength he had not expected. Each word is measured, sincere, and delivered with a warmth that makes her heart ache with a mixture of surprise and relief. The young woman listens, initially hesitant, unsure if she deserves such praise. Years of self-doubt and insecurity make it hard for her to accept that someone could genuinely admire her, not her looks, but her character. She interrupts softly, almost defensively, "But I'm not. I'm not what anyone would call pretty or perfect. I'm just me." The cowboy smiles, a mixture of tenderness and amusement in his expression. "And that's exactly why I need you," he replies. His voice is steady, carrying the weight of truth and sincerity. He tells her that she has everything he could ever hope for in a partner: honesty, courage, patience, and heart. He admits that when he first saw her, it was her presence and her character that drew him in, and each day since, he has only admired her more. There is no pressure, no expectation, just a calm, unwavering acknowledgement of her worth. Hearing this, the young woman feels a strange combination of disbelief and wonder. She had always assumed that love was something reserved for the beautiful, the perfect, the unattainable. And yet here is a man she has come to respect and admire, telling her that her uniqueness and authenticity are precisely what make her indispensable to him. Slowly, she allows herself to believe it. Slowly, she begins to see herself through his eyes not as plain or unworthy, but as someone capable of being loved deeply and genuinely. The cowboy takes her hand, a simple gesture loaded with meaning. There is a shared understanding in that touch, a silent promise that neither appearance nor past mistakes define the bond they are forging. They talk for a long while, not rushing the moment, sharing laughter, quiet acknowledgments, and the comfort of being understood. The ranch around them seems to pause, the rustle of the wind and the distant lowing of cattle framing this turning point in their lives. By the end of the evening, the recognition of love has been mutual. The young woman no longer doubts her place in the cowboy's life. The cowboy no longer hesitates to express admiration for her inner strength. Their connection has deepened from tentative trust to heartfelt affection, creating a sense of completeness that neither had expected, but both have come to cherish. It marks the emotional climax of the story's romantic arc. It is the point where admiration and respect crystallize into love, setting the stage for mutual commitment and a shared future. The young woman begins to truly internalize her value, while the cowboy demonstrates that authentic love is rooted in understanding, character, and the willingness to see and honor another's true self. By this stage, the young woman has begun to embrace her role on the ranch and her connection with the cowboy, but lingering insecurities still tug at her heart. Despite the growing bond, she struggles with fully believing that someone could love her wholly and unconditionally. The idea that her worth might be tied to her appearance is still ingrained from years spent in the shelter and past experiences of neglect and rejection. These doubts surface one quiet evening when she finds herself alone with the cowboy, the sky painted in soft shades of purple and orange as the day winds down. The young woman hesitates before speaking, choosing her words carefully as if each one carries the weight of her fears. Her voice is soft but trembling, revealing the vulnerabilities she has tried to mask. I know you've been kind to me, and I appreciate it," she begins, "but I can't help feeling that I'm not enough, that I'm too plain, too ordinary, that you might regret this, that maybe you would have preferred someone else." Her confession spills out, raw and unfiltered, carrying years of self-doubt and fear. The cowboy listens attentively, maintaining eye contact with gentle patience. He does not interrupt or dismiss her feelings. He allows her to voice her fears completely, understanding that acknowledgement is the first step toward healing. There is no judgment in his eyes, only warmth and steadfast reassurance. When she pauses, exhausted from the emotional release, he speaks softly, carefully choosing words that convey both sincerity and permanence. "You're not too plain," he says simply, yet with profound weight. "You're exactly who I needed. The person I wanted by my side is you, not someone chosen for looks or charm, but someone with heart, strength, and courage. I don't see you as ordinary. I see someone extraordinary in ways that matter far more than appearance." His voice is calm, filled with certainty, and it wraps around her like a protective embrace. He continues sharing specific examples of her qualities that he admires, the patience she has shown in learning, the ranch work, the quiet courage she displayed during the horse crisis, her kindness toward the animals, and the sincerity she brings to every action. These details anchor his words in reality, showing that his love is not abstract or superficial, but rooted in the very essence of who she is. He emphasizes that he does not love a version of her created by societal standards of beauty, but the real, authentic woman who has arrived at his ranch and heart. Hearing this, the young woman feels a rush of emotions, relief, disbelief, and overwhelming gratitude. Tears form in her eyes, but they are tears of release rather than sorrow. For the first time, she allows herself to believe that she is worthy of love as she truly is. She leans slightly into him, a silent acknowledgement that she is beginning to internalize his words. It is a delicate moment of surrender, of allowing herself to be fully seen without fear of rejection. The cowboy gently takes her hand in his, reinforcing his words with physical reassurance. In that touch, she feels the promise of unwavering support and acceptance. It is a moment that solidifies their bond, transforming tentative affection into mutual commitment. The emotional barriers that once defined her self-perception begin to crumble, replaced by the understanding that she is loved not for appearance, not for perfection, but for being herself. By the end of this chapter of their story, the young woman has moved from self-doubt to a deep, heartfelt acceptance of her worth. The cowboy, in turn, has affirmed his love and admiration, proving that authentic connection transcends superficial standards. This moment of confession and acceptance paves the way for their shared future, a future built on trust, understanding, and a love grounded in seeing and valuing the true self. The young woman and the cowboy have reached a turning point in their lives and relationship. After the journey of doubt, vulnerability, and discovery, they now stand in a place of mutual understanding, acceptance, and love. The ranch, which once seemed daunting and unfamiliar, has transformed into a home, a space not only of work and routine but of shared memories, trust, and hope. The vast fields, the warm sun, and the gentle rhythm of life on the ranch now feel like a reflection of the stability and warmth that have begun to take root in their hearts. The morning begins like any other, with the soft sounds of the ranch waking, horses neighing in the distance, the low hum of cattle, and the faint creak of the barn doors as the day starts. Yet for the young woman, everything feels different. She no longer approaches tasks with hesitation or fear. She moves with confidence and quiet assurance, fully present in her work. The skills she has gained and the challenges she has overcome, the horse crisis, the demanding routines, and the emotional hurdles have left her with a sense of empowerment she has never known before. She recognizes her own value, not as someone defined by beauty, but as someone capable, resilient, and deeply human. The cowboy joins her as she tends to the morning chores. Their movements are comfortable, synchronized almost naturally, the way people who trust and understand each other operate together. There is laughter over minor mishaps, shared encouragement when a task is tricky, and gentle teasing that carries warmth rather than judgment. The unspoken bond between them is now palpable. It is a bond forged through trials, honesty, and moments of vulnerability that have created profound intimacy. After the chores, they sit together on the porch, watching the sunlight spill across the fields. Here, in the calm, they share quiet conversation about their plans, dreams, and hopes for the future. The young woman no longer hesitates to speak her thoughts, and the cowboy listens with the same patience and care that has characterized their relationship from the beginning. They discuss simple things, a new fence to build, the care of the animals, the seasonal planting, but these mundane details are imbued with significance, because they are shared, marking the rhythms of a life they are building together. In this moment, the young woman fully understands the magnitude of what has changed within her. She has moved from a state of self-doubt and fear to a place of belonging and acceptance. The cowboy's steady affirmation of her worth has allowed her to internalize her own value, to see herself not as the plain one, but as someone extraordinary in ways that truly matter. The emotional scars of the past remain, as all wounds do, but they are no longer defining. They are part of her story, woven into the tapestry of her growth. The cowboy, in turn, experiences the fulfillment of a long-held desire, to find someone whose heart aligns with his own. He sees her not as a mail-order bride or a figure to mold, but as an equal partner, someone who complements his life and enriches it in ways superficial appearances never could. His love is now freely expressed, not just in words but in action, sharing tasks, sharing quiet moments, and sharing trust in a life built together. As the sun sets, casting golden light over the ranch, they stand together at the edge of the fields, hands intertwined, hearts aligned. There is no dramatic proclamation needed. The simplicity of the moment acceptance, companionship, and mutual respect speaks volumes. The young woman smiles, finally free of the insecurities that once governed her life, and the cowboy smiles back, his expression full of reassurance and unwavering affection. The story concludes with the promise of a shared future. They have created a home built on trust, love, and the recognition of each other's true worth. Their journey demonstrates that true connection transcends appearances, that courage and kindness are more valuable than beauty, and that love flourishes when hearts meet openly and honestly. Together, they embark on a new beginning, not defined by the past but by the life they are choosing to build, one of hope, acceptance, and enduring love.